guys the explanation on why I run certain cards in my Diabolos deck. Okay, so starting off, of course, if this video will contain spoilers if you have not already seen my other videos, so I strongly suggest that you see the one before this one, which is Pure Diabol Darkness Layer of Darkness Deck 2018, which is a part 1. So, and once you finish that, please come back to this video, so you can actually, so this way you can actually see why I run things. Okay, so let's begin in this, shall we? For all those who have already seen the first one. Okay, so starting off with Darkest Diabolos. We run 3 Darkest Diabolos, mainly because Darkest Diabolos is kaiju proof. He's easy to special summon by distributing, or now with some of the spell cards that you run, you'll be able to bring him out even quicker. Going more forward, he is also kaiju proof. So your opponent tries to essentially just kaiju him, they can't. He cannot. He's literally kaiju proof. Like Gameciel doesn't do anything to him. And then of course he has some other special. So if a dark mon is distributed, except during the damage, summon this card from your from your graveyard, or from your hand. You contribute one dark monster, then place one card. Your opponent places one card from their hand on either top or bottom of their deck. That is an extremely good effect. You have no idea how much a lot of people hate that effect. Just overall, it's just outstanding. And then we do run 2 Diabolos, the littler version of Darkest Diabolos, Lord of the Lair, mainly because he is a good addition. Sorry about that. He is an extremely good addition. He helps out with a lot of things, and you just don't know where you're gonna go with him. You know, like everything could like potentially just uh switch up, and everything could just like switch up with Diabolos. Um, the regular Diabolos, not Darkest Diabolos, you actually get the ability to look at your opponent's draw, and based on what they draw, you can actually decide, okay, well, I want to put it at the top or I want to put it at the bottom. It's completely your choice. Um, so that's actually a plus to the deck itself, because you do kind of utilize him, and he is a one tribute thing. Though his you can only tribute him with a dark monster, which is extremely easy to bring out because you always run a dark monster in the deck. Like you never run anything else but dark monsters. Going on, we have Arima the Wicked Warden. We are running Arima the Wicked Warden mainly because Arima is that monster that you're gonna want to have for the just in case, like say your opponent tries something completely unprecedented, you actually have the upper hand. And well, no, sorry, my bad, I'm thinking of something else. Okay, so the reason why we run Arima the Wicked Warden at 3 is mainly because within the engine it is required at 3. Yes, I have found out that there is a Darkest Diabolos engine, better known as the Layer of Darkness engine. So it's actually quite more simpler than you think it would be. Um, but it's actually a very effective engine. Goes good in the Monarchs, DDDs. I even made like a an Abyss Actor deck profile on it, and of course I'm making a deck profile on it. Whoops, sorry guys. I'll put that right there, so this way you guys can see me. Um, Not only that, but Arima is technically a terraforming himself. All you really have to do is just tribute, like you just discard him and you instantly gain the ability to check out um, anything on your opponent's field. I mean, no, you get the ability to add. Why am I so much of a dunce right now? You get the ability to add your card back to your hand that you actually needed, which is extremely good in any case scenario. And then of course you moving on, we have three Lilith, Lady of Lament. The Lilith, we run her mainly because she searches out your traps. You do run about 5 traps in this deck, which is not really bad, but it could be a lot better. Like if you catch my drift, like it's not really bad, but it could be a lot better in every given way. So it's actually like a good thing, but you have to tribute in order to use that effect, which is not really bad because within these within the field spell you get to tribute your opponent's monster instead of tributing your monster, which is even better. Then we end up moving on into Sinister Duke Shade, the Shadow Lord. Um, you run you run him mainly because he does help out with a lot of your problems within the deck, and he's just overall very very useful. Like without him, a lot of the deck won't even run because he like in a sense he recycles your he technically recycles your what's it called, he technically recycles your entire all of your uh, all of your high level dark monsters, which actually helps out for the better. So if your opponent tries to destroy one of your monsters and you don't have the cards efficient enough to actually bring them back from the grave, just essentially all you have to do is just use Sinister Duke Shade, Duke Shade Sinister Duke Shade, the Shadow Lord, and he just immediately upon special summoning you can add one level 5 or higher dark monster from your graveyard back to your hand, which in just about every case is very useful. Very, very useful. Moving on, we actually have Chaos, the Mega Monarch. We run one Chaos, the Mega Monarch, mainly because Chaos is the Monarch that you use in this deck because he actually banishes your opponent's monsters, and upon doing so, he actually helps with other things. Like if you use Chaos the Mega Monarch's effect properly, you just essentially gain the ability to um, banish 2 of your opponent's monsters, and if they were dark, well, technically, banish 2 of your opponent's monsters. Your opponent takes 2,000 if he was tributed using a dark monster. Um, if he was tribute someone using a dark monster as a tribute material, um, and essentially like he gains the ability he gains that ability to actually help you out in that case scenario, mainly because you get to disrupt your opponent's plays even more, and your opponent just is screwed. Like he can't do anything. Moving on, we actually have hold on. I'll have to look at the terraforming later. Wait, I got another one right here. I'll just have to place it in there for now until I can find the second one. Or the third one, sorry. Okay, so next we have Tour Guide from the Underworld. Tour Guide from the Underworld essentially just allows you to special summon your he allows you to special summon your what's it called, your Lilith, and technically just in turn, upon special summoning your Lilith by her effect, you you can't even activate Lilith's effect. So in a sense, Lilith gets to keep her attack points, and essentially you just lose the ability to use Lilith's effect, which is not really bad. I mean, to be honest, if you take into consideration everything else could have been even worse. I mean, you could have actually had Lilith's attack drained down to zero upon special summon. So yeah, I see everything a bit better than what it would have been. Okay, so then moving on with going on into Stygion Street Patrol. The reason why we're running 3 Stygion Street Patrol is because when this card destroys an opponent, if this card destroys an opponent, a monster by battle, and sends it to the graveyard, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the original level of that monster in the graveyard, times 100. You can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon one Fiend monster, 2000 or less attack from your Duke Shade, the Sinister Shadow Lord, is a Fiend, so is your Lilith, and so is your Rima. So in a sense, you just get a special summon. Um, even your um, even your tour guide from the underworld is literally a fiend monster, so it doesn't really matter the fact that we run him, because he just essentially is there for boosting up your special summonings. Okay, hold on, guys. I'm sorry. I know this is very, very unprofessional of me. Okay, so moving on. Going into the next one, we do run Armageddon Knight. I don't have an Armageddon Knight, but Armageddon Knight is essentially one of the few cards that you actually want to run in the deck. I don't have his effect on me handy, so I'll leave that for the next video, which will be on Wednesday. Um, Going into the spells, we run 3 layer of darkness, and get this: if all face-up monsters on the field become dark monsters, hello, use it against a Blue Eyes deck. Your opponent's using a Link monster that essentially just makes all dark monsters lose attack, and essentially all light monsters gain attack. With this card, you just gain the ability to make your opponent just screw himself over, and all his monsters lose their attacks. And of course, once per turn, you can if you would tribute a monster you control to activate a card effect, you contribute one dark monster your opponent controls instead, even though you do not control it. Once per turn during the end phase, special summon as many uh, Torment tokens, Fiend Dark, level 3, 1000 attack and 1000 defense as possible to the player's field in defense position. So that helps out a lot in this case, because you just essentially just get more tokens for more tributes, and you essentially get more ability to bring out your Darkest Diabolos. Moving on, we run 3 Allure of Darkness. Allure of Darkness is there mainly because it is the draw power of the deck. Um, Essentially, just to banish one dark monster. If you can't banish one, then send your entire hand to the graveyard. We do run 2 Terraforming mainly for the extra search of your Lair of Darkness. Then we run 2 Twin Twisters, essentially for one Regeki to get rid of your opponent's monsters. 3 Melody of the Awakening Dragon. We run that mainly because we need to search out our our Darkest Diabolos, so if we need to search them out, we could just easily get them on hand. You always want to see that in your hand. 2 Dragon Shrine, mainly because in case we need to dump a Diabolos, we can dump Darkest Diabolos, then use another effect to gain it back by tributing one of your monsters. If I remember correctly, Return of the Dragon Lords allows you to special summon a level 8 or a level 7 or 8 uh, dragon from your graveyard back to the field. So we run that mainly because we need to revive um, our Diabolos, and if it is level 7s as well, we can also. Oh no, wait, no, we can't even bring back our regular Diabolos. Because our regular Diabolos, King of the Abyss, is essentially unsummonable. Going into the traps, we run Full Force Virus, tribute 1 Dark Monster with 2,000 or more defense, aka Darkest Diabolos. Look at all your opponent, all monsters, all look at your opponent's hand, all monsters they control, and all cards they draw until the end of their 3rd turn. After this card's activation, destroy all those monsters with 1500 or less defense. This actually comes in handy when going up against weaker decks like crawlers because essentially you just get to like flip tribute and just nuke your opponent's field and leave them wide open. Going into deck devastation virus, it requires one tribute of a monster with 2,000 or more attack. Again, majority of your monsters do have 2,000 or more attack. Look at your opponent's hand, all monsters they control, and all cards they draw until the end of their 3rd turn. After this card's activation, destroy all those cards with 1,500 or less attack. Again, for weaker decks. Okay, so next we actually have um, going into Grinning Grave Virus. It requires 1 tribute of a dark monster with 3,000 or less attack. Your opponent destroys 1 card of their choice from their hand or deck for every 500 attack that monster had on the field. If you tribute a monster with 2,000 or more attack, activate this effect. Look at all cards your opponent draws until the end of their turn until the end of their 3rd turn. This until the end of their 3rd turn after this card's activation, destroy all monsters among them. Essentially, your opponent is boned every time you activate one of these cards. And of course, cards destroyed and sent to the graveyard by this card's effect cannot activate their own effects that same turn. So your opponent has a card effect that would actually activate, like say you're going up against dinos, and you activate this card, and your opponent happens to draw into um, that little pterodactyl and an eggshell. Well, when it's destroyed, it cannot activate its effect because it was destroyed that turn, and its effect only activates when it's destroyed, either from the hand, deck, or field. Going on, we actually run a floodgate trap hole, mainly in case we need to go up against pendulums. I'm thinking about switching it out for unwavering bond, but that's just my preference for now. I'm thinking about changing it to unwavering bond mainly because unwavering bond is this technically the same thing but different. But floodgate trap hole, When your opponent special summons a monster, monsters change that monster to face down defense position. Monsters changed face down defense position by this effect cannot change their battle position. So your opponent spams his entire field, just floodgate it, and your opponent is literally boned. Then of course we do have bottomless trap hole. Bottomless trap hole is there mainly because it is it is a really relative card. It if your opponent would special summon any monster or monsters with 1500 or with 1500 or more attack, essentially you just negate their summon and destroy them. And it will destroy them, and if you do, banish them. So out tremendously. That's all for the main deck. Going into the extra deck, starting off with the links. Okay, so we do run Wee Witch's Apprentice mainly because Wee Witch's Apprentice is the booster for the card that you use to boost the attack of all your dark monsters. So essentially, you have Darkest Diabolos on the field. Essentially, by Wee Witch's ability, he gains an extra like what 3,000, which is very useful. Um, and in any case, that is more useful than what you would someone send. Again, that's when Regeki comes in. Unless your opponent has a monster that is unaffected by battle, by card effects, which is really bad news. Moving along, we actually have put what else to put, and then of course Master King Archfiend. I'm thinking about taking out I'm thinking about taking out Master King Archfiend and placing in a different monster. Mainly because Master King Archfiend is relevant in this deck for some points, but not all. So I'm at 3, and of course you can easily just link summon him without a problem or without a hesitation. We do run some Galaxy cards, like what's his face? We do run what's his name? Hope Harbinger. And the reason why we run Hope Harbinger is because Hope Harbinger actually helps out with negation, because you could easily just special summon your monsters, and your opponent will have little chance to actually take them out if you know what you're doing. And that's exactly why we run the Hope Harbinger. We run Galaxy Eye Cypher Dragon mainly because Galaxy Eye Cypher Dragon helps you just just essentially helps you take control over your opponent's monsters when you need it. And of course changes their names to Galaxy Eye Cypher Dragon. And of course you can already figure out what the rest is. Moving on, we run, well, the rest are not really that much important. We do run Castell mainly because Castell helps you in dire situations in case you need it. Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon, Tornado Dragon, I do believe, is because he actually helps you nuke your opponent's field, like your back, like just pop back row. Um, Baguska mainly for protection. Caesar mainly in case in case a monster that we control was destroyed by battle or card effect, and we can just easily just special summon him back. Um, Utopia mainly because You want to negate as many attacks as possible in case your opponent has something that's more effective against you. Then that generic link monster, Landforhicus. Landforhicus. I'm sorry, I think I butchered that name. But we do run that mainly because it is um, it is essentially like a generic Link 2 monster, and he's just overall generically good. But yeah, that's all for now, guys. I do need majority of these cards. I will be letting you guys know on the next video which ones I need. Um, but yeah, please do keep an eye out for my tutorials on Thursdays. Wednesdays, I will be giving you guys random updates on random decks or just doing hand testing. I know that I'm not showing my face that much in this video as much as I'd like to, but I'm sorry. Like, I'm trying to like get the right position and mess with some of my stuff to get it all properly set up. But that's all for now, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, please leave a like on that. Please hit the like button, and if you're one of my subscribers, please share my channel in this video with a lot of your friends and anyone you know that might be interested. It would actually mean so much to me if you guys also, if you guys would, please, if you guys are new to my channel and you don't know anything about me yet or know anything about my content, please, I actually ask that you do subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell right beside it so you can be notified of every video I upload every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Um, but yeah, that's all for now, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys back here on Wednesday.